Hey everybody, Fabian for Liberty here. So we've all talked about some time about food prices, skyrocketing food prices due to, among many things, Bernanke printing money, the drought conditions. What's interesting is that although we've talked about this now for years, about how it's coming, how you can't have a food supply when you're burning a significant portion of your food supply to use for biofuels, it just doesn't make any sense. Now the mainstream media is coming around with this CNN article that I thought was very, very interesting. Let's look into it. Hey everybody, Fabian for Liberty, FabianForLiberty.com. David Fromm wrote an article in CNN opinion piece titled, "Why 2013 Will Be the Year of Crisis." I thought it was very interesting because to see the mainstream media usually trailing about a year, year and a half behind alternative media and thus reporting the truth, and not only reporting the truth, but doing it in a way where we look back at history and we're able to forecast, if you believe in the model that history repeats itself, and it's so unbelievably true. I mean, my God, do we need any more evidence to know history is repeating itself right now? It's just over and over again. That the mainstream media is now realizing that we have a big problem on our hands globally. And although they're focused on it just globally, because many of them live in the normalcy bias as well, much of this will come home to roost in America. Why 2013 will be a year of crisis? Prediction, 2013 will be a year of serious global crisis. That crisis is predictable, and the fact is, it's already begun. It is inescapable to confront the next president of the United States. The crisis originates in this summer's extreme weather. Almost 80% of the continental United States experience drought conditions. Russia and Australia experience drought as well. The drought has ruined key crops. The corn harvest is expected to drop to the lowest level since 1995. In just July, prices for corn, wheat jumped about 25% each. Prices for soybean jumped 17%. Now, farmers who feed their cows corn, some of them have been feeding their cows literally candy because corn prices are so expensive. That's why beef prices are up almost 10% just this year. Now, isn't it just so wonderful? The Federal Reserve says, nah, it's all crazy talk. Inflation's running, what, 2-3%? Perhaps because they've taken food and energy out of the inflation index. Again, we're not being told the truth. Nobody at this convention is telling Americans, hey, we should prepare. We should begin to buy food in our communities and towns. We should have food pantries in case there is a problem. We have major drought throughout America, which could be because of the geoengineering that's taking place. You know, I wasn't going to go here, but I got a comment that I was just reviewing on my way into the studio today that said, Fabian, what are you going to do next? You're going to be talking about chemtrails and how, you know, that's just totally a myth and made up. I just finished watching the movie Why in the World Are They Spraying? Or yeah, Why in the World Are They Spraying? And it was a follow-up to What in the World They're Spraying. I highly recommend people watch those and share them with your friends and family, because when you talk about weather modification and weather manipulation and how individuals like George Soros, Monsanto, Bill Gates, and these wealthy multinational companies and gigantic wealthy backers are investing tremendous amounts of money into not only geoengineering, which is the ability to change weather patterns, but also are investing in these abiotic seeds that in essence can grow under any conditions, under drought, under flood, under whatever. It's interesting how this all ties in. It all comes back to not only money, but it all comes back to the economy. High food prices, in addition to the droughts and because of the droughts, but also the money printing taking place by the Federal Reserve and Ben Bernanke will not end well, will end in skyrocketing food prices. Today, Americans spend roughly 10% of their after-tax money on food. That's nothing compared to places in Europe or really more the Middle East, not Europe, the Middle East. In Asia, where over 30% plus is spent on food. Now, I believe it's 33% is the revolutionary index. So if you spend, imagine if Americans spent 33% of their food of their budget on food here in America, there would be a revolution. There'd be people starving in the streets. And I think the globalists know it. Another thing I wanted to mention in addition to this article that I'll post on this link was a recent article by Mike Maloney from goldsilver.com talking about a recent car crash he had in his Tesla and how it not only gave him a renewed kind of sense of life because he literally nearly died, but it appears to me it compelled him and inspired him to write an article about the car crash ahead for the US economy and what it means to the middle class and how, historically speaking, again, history repeating itself, how it shows that in times of crisis, in times of inflationary problems, the middle class typically will vote for a charismatic leader, whether it is Napoleon, Mao, Hitler, you name it. They will sometimes not even vote for them. Sometimes they'll just rally to their cause and participate in a revolution like with Fidel Castro. But I'll tell you, the article Mike Maloney posted is interesting because he mentioned how the middle class today in America is really like a spoiled brat. We've gotten everything we've wanted. We haven't really had tough economic times. I mean, yeah, the last 4 years have been hard, but nothing like our grandparents faced during the Great Depression. Doesn't mean we have to go through those times to, to prove anything. It just means we haven't gone through those times. We're one of the most blessed societies in history. Everything's at our fingertips. Prescription drugs, any type of food you want, whatever you want, you can just get it, order it online, whatever. It's not always been that way, and will it always be that way? And to think it'll always be that way, maybe to prepare in case it's not always going to be that way, I think is pretty smart to do. Seems like things are beginning to take form here. We know a few things are to be true. We know that if drought conditions continue in America, it'll spell increasing food prices, not just in America, but in countries that are already on the cusp of revolution. Take China, for example. High food prices in China will potentially lead to revolution there. I mean, the Chinese are already, many of them are already starving as it is. But high food prices, like in Pakistan, in the Middle East, whether it's Iraq, who is unstable as it is, and other countries around the world, like Brazil, how will they result? If you remember not too long ago, there was riots in Haiti over food prices, riots in Mexico over high corn prices. But what happens here at home when you have a dollar that is falling in value rapidly and food prices increasing rapidly? Make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, that is the picture that we could potentially face, and I believe we will face in the coming years. I think you should take note, read the articles I've posted, as well as prepare for what is coming. And in your preparations, remember, there's always two economies. There's always your own personal economy and how you survive and thrive, and there's the exterior economy. And you only have really control over one. Thank you for watching. FabianForLiberty.com. I'm out.